Okay, so for part 3 of this demo on rendering the faucet, I've got 4 markers on my hand, 0, 10, 20, and 30. I'm going to start once again with a blender. Like I said, this would be like a broken record. I say it over and over again, but yeah, my lightest tone is 0 for areas like this and that. So what I really like to do is start anywhere with a blend by just wetting the paper. And by the way, I erased away that axis line that went up the middle and a bit of the extra pencil line I had. I do that before it's time to actually seriously start dropping in tone, because I don't want the graphite mixing or blending in with, like it is right there. You see I get a little bit of a smudgy area. If you want to avoid that, just lightly erase out your pencil marks, make them lighter, for example, if you still need them. So right there, I've got the paper wet. And now we'll do our first blend. So I'm going to switch to 10. Oops. Little change in camera angle there. So, blending soft into nothingness, really from the edge of this dark shape. I also filled in some of these other shapes with 90. And you can see right there I've got the beginning of a nice soft blend. I'm going to continue that because I've got this paper wet. And so right here I deviated from my reference. There was just total white there, but I wanted it to be more fully round. I'm fine with that. I'll just say it was intentional. I'm going to pull this tone out just a little bit here. Now in here, I know that this is all at least 20%. I'm just going to hit it with the 10, kind of a double layer addition of tone there. This plastic piece is also a darker tone. Over here, also, I can just bury the white and just leave it like that. And see, very quickly, I've got the effect that I'm going for. Not all of it, but enough to you can see the basic idea. There's no tone here. I think there should be tone there. I think this is effective. So I'm deviating from my reference a little bit and just taking my blender and pulling a little bit of that tone out. Push it a little bit more with 10. And then on the other side, I'm going to define that edge with a bit of 10. And as I say, this is a quick render. I would slow down. If I was trying to do something more like a finished illustration, I would take my time more with it. But I want to keep my videos short enough so they load. And let's see here. Now it's time to switch to 20. These brush tips can be quite nice to have that little fine tip that I can get in there, and also to have the white end of the brush all in the same. And there's actually a fine tip on the other end of this. I'm going to darken a little bit more here. Like I say, a little more contrast between this side and the bright side. And same thing here. Add a little bit of tone there. And time for white pencil. And by the way, this is an old model, but nice manual pencil sharpener. It's really good for just occasionally sharpening that pencil. You want a nice sharp tip like that, because what I'd like to do is put a sharp edge here. Maybe you can't see it in the camera view. There's a little strip of brighter color here. And I'm going to add it in and feather it like that. And on the other side of it, I'm going to take that 80 and put another layer there, which deepens that deep dark reflection, and then it gives me a sharp edge. It's very cool. So you can see this is a little bit more gray. Second layer, and again, as you noticed, I have not used that 100% black marker. I will only use it if I have to. Clean up an outer edge. I can even go in here if I want to and just kind of soften a little bit of transition there. But don't overdo your white pencil. For example, don't just coat this with white. It'll give it a soft look, not a metallic look. Use the white of the paper. Okay, so final touches. A few midtones. Every illustration should have 3 basic tonal values: high key or light tones, midtones, and dark or shadow tones. So right here, I feel like there should be more drama. It's all about the drama. I'm going to, since I made that change, I'm going to darken right on the edge of this some more. So every time I render this, I render it slightly different, which is fine. It makes it more fun for me. And like I say, even though you are working with a piece of photo reference, you may actually even improve on your reference. Areas that are weak, like the absence of any tone in here. This is a little bit blank. This could have a little more tone. Maybe a couple of dark reflections up here to define the top of the stem and this handle. Now to pull out the front part of this cap, a little bit of white, tone it back, or gradiate it back. Now you can get away with using a little bit of pencil. These graphite pencils are about a 50% gray. I can go in here where I see some lighter edges. I can actually put in a bit of an edge and incorporate that into my render. I can also go in here, for example, clean up an outer edge. The last thing you might do here is use a bit of that whitewash paint, which is, if you got the kit or are going to get the kit, that should be there, a small tube. I'll talk about that as we go, but that becomes a nice tool for adding white highlights, for cleaning up edges, things like that. And never satisfied. I'm going to put a little more complexity into this shape there. And that, almost done. Maybe a couple little more things. And remember, too, you can go back, switch back to previous media, and think about going back to the pen, for example. Now I am going to add a dark line here because I feel like it needs it. Continue that shape. You can see it continues here too. Round it out. But that gives you an idea of what we're talking about. You know, the rest of this would be fine-tuning. Going in, adding specific little shapes. Maybe I'd like to widen that, have it come down a bit. Do something like that. No edge on the top. Really not called for. It would be too heavy-handed. So what I can do is use pencil. Not so heavy-handed an edge. I can also use my curve with a pencil too. Brighten that tone right here. I feel like I could brighten that a little bit. And then, because that cap is actually a darker tone, I'm going to put that darker tone, basically a 60% gray, right over the top. See, it's defined there. And you can see also I missed a detail. There's an open area here. There's possibilities of doing edits if you have white pencil. I can go back into that. Put a dark edge on that cap, then reestablish a dark edge to my reflection here. And kind of open up that little bit of space there. Like I say, no render is perfect. I'm not worried about this one being perfect, but final touches would be darken all darks, get a true 100%, a true white, they're right next to each other, and there you go.